Hello, good afternoon. We are live. Welcome to our Seniors Real Estate Services video series. This is season number 3, and this is week number 5. Welcome. And as always, I'm with my friend Denise. Hi, Denise.
Hi. Wait, I have to lower my phone.
Lower your
We're echoing. Hi. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good evening. Welcome to our show. We have a great show planned for tonight. We're going to talk about real estate investing and irrevocable trusts, how to protect your investments. We have a good guest with us tonight. Are we ready to introduce, or we're
No,
not
you
yet?
have to introduce yourself first.
Oh, everyone knows who I am. It says it right there. Denise Lanzarone, real estate agent with Keller Williams, senior real estate specialist. We put this live event series together. This, like Sandra said, this is our 3rd season. And the purpose of it is just to get information out there. I found that in dealing with a lot of family and friends that really nobody knows how many resources are out there. And so we're just trying to educate everyone to what's out there and where you can reach them and what you can do so that make life a little bit easier.
Where can they find you?
Facebook. If you're on my Facebook page, then you know where it is. But Denise Lanzarone, your local realtor. Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, Denise Lanzarone. I'm also on YouTube now.
Yay.
I think I have one video up. That's about
Please
it.
watch her. And remember, today we are live on Denise's Facebook page and my Facebook page. I'm not live on YouTube today. Just Facebook today. Follow us and leave us your comments, share if this information is useful for somebody that you know. And you can find me at Sandra Real Estate everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever. Find me, Sandra Real Estate. Don't call me today because I lost my phone. But Denise,
yes.
tell us.
So today we have with us a wonderful attorney. She specializes in elder law. Her name is Christine Kavanaugh. She's with Feldman, Kramer, and Monaco in Hop Hog. And here she is. Hi, Christine.
Hello, everybody. I'm Christine Kavanaugh. Yes, I'm an elder law attorney and trust and estates. They kind of intertwine, 2 different areas. I'm located right on Motor Parkway in Hop Hog with Feldman, Kramer, Monaco. It's one of the biggest firms I think you'll find on the island. They've been here forever, 30 years, 40 years, I'm not even sure. But I've been doing this for a long time because it's really an important area and ends up affecting almost everyone who's blessed to live long enough. You have to do some type of planning if you don't want to work hard, amass your wealth, purchase your home, and then have to spend through it all in order to pay for your care in the future. So my planning for people, especially once they're in their 60s or older, has to do with the idea that we want to preserve your assets and take advantage of government programs that can pay for your care rather than you having to spend through everything. And that's where the idea of a trust comes in. So when I say trust, there's all different types of trusts. There's credit shelter trusts, but the type of trust we're talking about for asset protection is known as either a Medicaid asset protection trust, a grantor trust, an irrevocable trust. They all mean the same thing. And all it is simply is a box. It's a protective box, and you're going to put, what most people end up doing is putting your home in it so that if you need care in the future and you don't want to spend, right now, Gerwin and Comac, I believe, is around $18,000 a month if you have to be in a nursing home. Or if you don't want to have to pay someone $200 a day to come to your house and physically help you, people don't realize that you can actually access the Medicaid program to pay for that type of care. Now, the minute I say Medicaid to anyone that I'm consulting with, they throw up their hands and they say, that's not for me. I'm not a poor person. Yes, Medicaid is health insurance in all 50 states. It's a federal program where if you couldn't afford your own health insurance or Medicare wasn't enough, you can apply and have Medicaid be your insurer. But the big pieces of the program people end up using have nothing to do with that. It has to do with getting care at home or being in a facility. So if you live long enough, you are either going to pay the facility until your assets dwindle down and then get on Medicaid, or you're going to do this planning ahead of time to protect everything so that you can get on it immediately, preserve your assets so that they're there for you to supplement your quality of life, and then the kids can have it once you pass. The other option is don't do any planning, and if you're on Medicaid for either home care or nursing home care, when your will goes to probate, so when you pass away and they submit your will, Medicaid comes a knock-in as a preferred creditor, and they step up and say, we want to get paid back up to the whole value of this estate. So when people say Medicaid takes the house, that's how they take it.
Well, I have a question. When I'm sorry.
I usually don't even get that far, but this is
when it's a good time to start planning?
so now trust planning or this type of trust planning, it really hinges on all kinds of factors: your age, your health, for both if it's you and a spouse, your asset structure. Medicaid looks at retirement assets differently than non-retirement. But I can say that on the island, if you own a home,
You need to start planning.
It's very likely that the trust planning makes sense for you because your life is really not going to change. The trust is a document, just like a will, just like a piece of paper, but it's basically this box. You put the house in the trust. You still get the right to live there. Nobody can charge you rent, even though the trust owns it. You keep all your property tax exemptions. So you have enhanced star, you have veterans, you get to keep all that. But the difference is when you both pass away, if it's a married couple, now instead of the kids having to go through probate and probate your will and pay off all your creditors, including Medicaid, the next day they can sell that house and it can pass privately. There is no probate.
So but for example, like if a young couple, they get married, they buy a house, can they start doing a trust like that or not really?
So for this type of trust planning, the reason we look at age is because right now to apply for nursing home Medicaid, there's a 5-year look back to see if you've given any assets away for less than fair market value. And if you take your lovely Long Island home and you put it in a trust, no one's paying you $400,000 or $500,000 when you do that. So in Medicaid's eyes, when you set the trust up is when you're giving the asset away for less than fair market value. So you need to do that at least 5 years before you anticipate needing a nursing home, which is why once people are in their 60s, the idea of a nursing home is still far away, but it's not going to be 30 years from now if it happens.
Okay, got it.
And the Medicaid rules are also subject to change. It used to only be a 3-year look back. Now it's 5. In New York, actually, New York, for all the knocks New York gets, it's one of the most generous states when it comes to Medicaid. They actually have a home care program because most people don't wake up and suddenly need a nursing home. If you're blessed to live long enough, you're going to start to need some physical assistance just to go about your day and stay at home. And that's everyone's goal. Nobody wants to go in the nursing home. So you can be home and need a lot of care and still not have to go into a facility. But to pay someone is, again, you're going to pay. If you need someone living there with you or there 12 hours a day, you're going to be spending maybe $200 a day. So in New York, there's also the Medicaid home care program. They will cover the cost of having an aide. But for home care and nursing home care, they're going to look at your assets. They're going to
Okay.
look at your income.
Okay.
So
And
it's
then that's when you need the trust for
the
that.
trust would take that asset off the table. Let's
Okay,
say
got
you
it.
own another property, um, in Florida, right? You can put that in too. When you apply, they
Okay.
say, "Are you the creator of a trust?" Yes, I am. What's in it? Here I have what's in it. Okay, well that doesn't disqualify you because it's in a trust.
How many properties can I have in a trust?
You can put as many as you want.
Oh,
If you're, sometimes if people are professional landlords, so to speak, and their business is buying properties, sometimes what they'll do is create an LLC for each property and then assign that interest into a trust. It really
mm,
is, it really is particular to whatever is going on. That, when I sit down and consult with someone, I send them a 10-page questionnaire to fill out, sketching out all the income and the assets so that when Denise can attest, when you come in, I have all this information in front of me because I'm looking to see, are there estate tax issues? Should they be looking at a trust? Is it a second marriage with different heirs? Then maybe they want the trust to make sure their assets go the way they want, regardless of their age. So there's all different types of planning to do. But like I said, you put the house in the trust, you want to move in 2 years, fine. The trust is selling the house, and now the money's coming into the trust. And now you find a cute little condo you want. Money comes out of the trust. So this protective box
okay.
stays in effect when you first put the house in. This first transfer is the one that we're worried about for Medicaid purposes. If you choose to swap out, put money in, take money out, as long as it's a fair, even exchange, we don't care if you move 100 times. It's setting the
Okay.
trust up initially so that you start this clock ticking, for planning purposes. I mean, I
Okay.
could talk to you for a week about the different types of trust and credit shelter trust, but this is the main planning that if you are not independently wealthy and you don't care about the nursing home or you don't have anything and you've never amassed anything, if you're in the 90% in the middle, this is the planning that may make sense for you, depending on your asset structure and all other factors that we talk about in a consult. And I typically, so I will meet with, when I meet with people, I do an hour consult. It's typically $500 flat fee, and then it goes towards the work I do. But anyone who comes to me through this seminar, webinar, TV show, whatever we're going to call it, you will not even have to pay for the consult fee. And we could sit down and take a look at what documents you have in place and what else you should be thinking about and what the options are.
So the box, let me explain. Try to no, not explain because I'm not explaining anything. Understand the box. It's like I put the house inside that box. I can sell it, so it works like a little business kind of model thing, or not?
Well, well, it's a document. It's a piece of paper, just like a will is a piece of
Okay,
paper,
got it.
right?
Yeah.
And the way you get your house into this trust is by doing a deed and recording it from yourself to your trust. We put that on, if it's Suffolk County clerk. Once it's in the trust, whoever your trustees are when you pass away, they can call the realtor immediately and say, we need to sell this house. What happens is if you pass away with property titled to you yourself, first of all, Medicaid may have already put a lien on it while you were alive.
Hmm.
Even if they didn't, when your will goes to probate, they're going to step up and say, hey, we're owed our money. The kids are going to wait a year to try to get appointed, depending on how busy the court is. I have
Hmm.
Kings County, Brooklyn. I have people who died in 2020 that were still waiting to get the family appointed because there's been such attrition in the staff that they just can't keep up with the volume of the estates coming in. So the
Hmm.
whole time, the kids have to pay the electric. They live in another state. Is it secure? Put the heat on. It's a nightmare to go through probate. So when it's in the trust, it just goes privately. But it's not, hey, let's save this for the kids. The reason it's in the trust, let's say you're sitting in a nursing home, which is not the best quality of life. If you've preserved your assets in this trust, now your kids can take money out every month and say, let's pay a companion to go sit at mom's bedside and get her slippers and take her outside. It's a nice day, and enhance your own quality of life. And then the kids can have what's left.
Okay.
So the planning is done to avoid probate, enhance your own quality of life. It's almost an insurance. You can't really get long-term care insurance in New York right now. It's difficult, if not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost a way of insuring yourself. Like, hey, if I'm in this situation and the Medicaid rules are the way they are, and it makes sense to me, at least I've done this ahead of time, and I know it's an extra option. You're insuring you insure your house, you insure your car. It's kind of like a way to insure yourselves.
To insure yourself. Okay. We have
a question from Jean.
Hi,
What if you
Jean.
Hi, Jean.
Hi,
what
John.
What if you don't have Medicaid?
You don't apply for this type of Medicaid unless you need physical help at home or you need a nursing home. So you can have Medicare as your primary insurance. You can have a secondary from a job that you worked, and you can apply for Medicaid because all three are covering different things. There's no other health insurance that will pay for an aide to come to your house and help you get in and out of the shower, bathe, feed, groom, dress, those types of activities. There's no health insurance that covers that. So Medicaid in New York has that home care program, and there's no insurance that will cover if you're in a nursing home as a custodial patient, meaning you can't go home, you have to be there medically. So you can have different insurances, and they all cover different things.
Right. So I wrote Medicaid pays for home health care and long-term care.
Right.
And Medicare will still pay for your
There's
doctor
a health
bills.
insurance, just it would
Right.
run the same way.
So you wouldn't have, you wouldn't apply for Medicaid unless you needed home health care or
But
long-term
the
care.
planning you want to do ahead because of this look back.
Right.
Right now in New York for home care Medicaid, you could set up a trust this month and apply next month, and there's no penalty. But because of COVID and because of the financial hit that New York took, they said, hey, we have to cut back somewhere. Let's put a look back in for home care because everybody starts out on home care. So we don't know when. They've been saying since October 1 of 2020 that they're going to put this look back in of 2.5 years. The latest is it's going to start January 1 of 24 because they'll have the apparatus in place to start processing this because so many people are on home care Medicaid. You know, you have to live a long time to end up in the nursing home or get really ill, but you'd be surprised how many people actually get home care. I do this for a living because my mother was only 69 years old and she had a stroke and was living by herself. And they told me at the hospital, your mother needs to go to a nursing home. And I said, no, she doesn't. And that's how I looked into all of this. And she was able to stay home in a house by herself with a live-in aide and be able to live out, the rest of her life at home. She was 69. She wasn't going to a nursing home. So she couldn't get out of bed by herself. You can be home and be very sick and need a lot of help because the public policy behind it is the state would rather pay for the aid because they say because they want people to remain at home. That's the pleasant reason. But the real reason is it's much less expensive for them to pay to have you home than it is for them to have to pay the nursing home.
Right.
So you need to do this planning before there's a need for the care.
Right.
This is Medicaid's rules. It's their sandbox. It's their toys. They can change the rules anytime they want, but we know that this planning works. We just know it has to be done ahead of time.
So it's recommended to start planning like around 60.
It depends. I mean, I've had people where they weren't 60s yet, but unfortunately, somebody has a degenerative illness,
exactly,
like MS or something, and they say, listen, I know I'm going to need care. So
Right.
like Parkinson's or something that they
Exactly.
have in early years.
Right. Right. And this is
Yeah.
only one type of planning, but this is, if I'm busy, I could do five, I could do five of these trusts a month because it's just the planning that you have to do if you've worked and you've amassed some wealth.
What is the, well, maybe you already explained, but what is like the process? Let's pretend I'm 60 and I want to start planning. What do I need to do?
You're gonna
What
call,
things I need to put together?
you're gonna call me
Okay.
and say, I want to meet with you, and I'm so happy because I'm not even going to have to pay for this legal advice. And you're going to come in with all the questionnaire filled out. It's going to say, do you have a checking, savings, brokerage? Do you have beneficiaries? Is it titled to you? Is it titled to you and a spouse? What property? And it all comes into play. And when we sit down, I'm going to say, how's your health? Any major issues going on? How's your family tree? Which, maybe one child is the one that's the doer and you want to have them in charge of more things. So it's all, depends on. And I've told people, no, it doesn't make sense for you to do a trust. It really depends on, if you have $2 million in retirement, you're probably not going to need the Medicaid program. It's a lot of math and complex, and it's way too late for math.
Yes.
But it really is. It really is. I am not the Oprah Winfrey of trust, where you get a trust, you get a trust. You have to sit down and crunch the numbers, see what your retirement is and all that, and see whether and you make an educated decision. Wow, I think I'm going to do this as an insurance, or I'll probably never use the program. I'm not going to.
So we have a question. Well, Marie's had made this comment that you need reliable aids for home care, which is
Hi,
another whole
Marie.
issue.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you're in like Eastern Suffolk, it's really hard, even if you get the Medicaid, to get aids, because a lot of them rely on public transit. But the good news is with Medicaid, they now have, I don't know, this might be off on a tangent, but they have something called the Consumer Directed Program, where you can actually have your friends and family members paid to help take care of you. So you can pick your aides and they get paid through the Medicaid program. And it's
Yes.
a way that sometimes people will, be able to provide the help for, or grandma's not letting anyone in her house. She doesn't want to hear it. She's 90. She's going out on her own, but she'll let her granddaughter come in and help her. And we can,
And
if it makes sense, then we can have that person paid through Medicaid to be a caregiver.
yeah,
There's pros
that's
and cons to traditional Medicaid versus consumer directed. Again, it's a part of the discussion I would have with someone who was considering it.
so we have a couple of questions. All right, Tula. Will less assets in your loved one's name help them qualify for Medicaid?
All right, so for Medicaid this year for home care or nursing home care, the asset limit is $16,800, but there's exceptions to that. Retirement assets, are an exception. Your house, if you live in it, is an exception. So, and there's planning you can do, between spouses in order to get qualified. But I'm not going to give out blanket legal advice, I'd have to see what the situation is to see what you could and couldn't do as far as transfers.
So you said the house is an exemption.
Yeah, if you're
Because
living in your house and you apply for home care Medicaid, your house, I'm sure, is worth more than $16,800.
right.
But they'll say, "Oh, it's fine. You live there. Don't worry about it." But they can also run down to the county clerk and file a lien on it, and that lien will run like a taxi meter. And at the end, when your will goes through probate and that house goes through, they're going to get paid back.
And what did you say was exempt? The pension, your pension?
Retirement assets you're allowed to keep in your name, and it will not count towards the 16,800, whatever that's this year's threshold. Will not count towards it, but you have to take a monthly distribution from it.
Oh, right.
You're turning it into income. So just like the IRS says, once you're 72, you can't sit on this money anymore. You have to start pulling it. Medicaid says we don't care what age you are. If you want to apply for Medicaid, you don't want us to count your $500,000 retirement account. How old are you? Are you man or woman? I have their chart. I get it every year, and we calculate how much you need to take out each month in order for them not to count that retirement account towards your $16,800 limit.
So, does a will die with you, and probate is their solution?
So when somebody passes away, there are different buckets of assets. So if you and your husband or wife have a joint checking account or a joint on the house, when one of you passes away, the other one doesn't have to do anything. They have the automatic rights of survivorship. So the first bucket are joint accounts. The second bucket are accounts that are in your name only, which mostly are retirement accounts without a doubt, because it can only be in one person's name. But you filled out a beneficiary form that says, hey, when I pass away, this is rolling over or this is going to. So the second bucket are beneficiary forms. The third bucket are assets in your name only without beneficiaries. And the big one for most people, if you don't do planning, is your house. So if you're the second spouse, when you pass away, no one can sell that house or do anything with it until a court gets involved. You have to submit your will to court. That's called probating the will, proving the will. There's a whole process. There's got to be waivers and consent forms by your natural heirs. It's a whole process. So people will do a trust sometimes without even thinking about Medicaid just to avoid probate for their family. That's a different type of trust. That's like a step down. If you're concerned about probate, but you want to protect your assets as well, then that's the type of trust we're talking about. So the goal is, if you set up a trust and you put your house in it, the goal is never have to probate a will. When I meet with people, I say, check your beneficiaries on everything and check them every few years, because banks have been known to lose beneficiary forms, or banks have changed hands and lost the beneficiary designation. And then they're telling me it's in the estate and I have to go through probate, even though the person who passed did the right thing 30 years ago and filled out a form. So it's a good idea to check your beneficiary designations every few years as part of your estate planning checkup. And the other thing I'll mention, nothing to do with trust, but I always ask, if you have a safe deposit box, I just want people to understand that even if you and your spouse are on this box, if one of you passes away, the other one is not getting in that box without the court being involved. And people are livid when they find this out, because I'm an owner, I'm on it. It doesn't matter. If the court finds out, if the bank finds out that somebody passed away, they have to seal that to protect what could be in there that belongs to the deceased person. So I always tell people, if you, and trust me, people have to pay me now to do this. There's never anything of value in these safe deposit boxes. I had one woman who said, my husband died 2 years ago. They're charging me $6 a month. I can't take it anymore. They won't let me close it. And we had to go through the whole process just so she could close it out.
And what's inside?
A friendly tip from your estate planning attorney. Safe deposit box, you're going to be annoyed if you don't get there quick enough, and you may have trouble closing it out.
So, but what was inside the box? Now I'm curious.
She had like a bracelet from her grandmother, which it was worth like $200.
But it was sentimental.
A lot of paperwork that meant nothing.
Yeah.
And that's typically what happens. I mean, once in a while, people will keep their jewelry there, but I'm just mentioning that as an aside. I always tell people, get a nice safe at home or a fireproof box, and avoid the aggravation, because I always have the spouse who's remaining going like this to the other spouse, like, why did we do this? Why am I going through all this? Just a little aside.
So I have a question. Oh wait, did I get to everybody?
You're missing Marie.
Marie said 24-hour care could cost $20,000 a month, and I guess income and assets. She was questioning probably the 16,800 number. I would assume.
Well, so for nursing home, for instance, if the house is in the trust, you if you own the house and a condo in Florida and it's in a trust, right? You own $700,000 worth of property. When you apply for Medicaid, one of the questions is, are you the creator or the beneficiary of a trust? Yes. We want to see the trust. We show them the trust. We want to see the trust assets. We show them what's in it. If it's in a properly drafted trust, it does not count towards the 16,800 you're allowed to have. Mm-hmm. Then if you have a retirement account with another $500,000 in it, if you set it up on the right monthly distribution based on their chart, that doesn't count either. Oh. So there's a lot of planning. That's why people don't think they can ever get Medicaid, and they almost always end up on it, because unfortunately in this country, there are very few ways that we take care of the elderly. So that's why the government has to allow all these special rules when it comes to this type of Medicaid, home care or nursing home care, because it's, there's no other way to pay for it. Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
You have the question.
So if, let's say I set up a trust, an irrevocable trust, and my two daughters are my trustees, what happens if they get sued or something? Does it affect my trust?
Not at all. So in the old days, before the trust planning, people would get older and they'd say, you know what, let's transfer the house to the kids. We'll keep a life estate for ourselves, which means we have the right to live there and keep our exemptions. But when you did it that way, in the eyes of the law, your kids own that house. So subject to their creditors, if they got married, divorced, sued, car accident, they own the house, just subject to your right to live there. With the trust, it's a separate box between you and your kids, where their creditors, they're the trustees of the trust, but they don't own a plug nickel in that trust. They're just the trustees.
Okay.
They get it at the end if you like them, and that's how you want it drafted. They'll get it at the end, but while you're alive, their creditors can't attack it.
So it protects like the property or the trustees as well, because it doesn't matter if they get married or divorced. Right. It's a separate thing.
Right. It's just a role. So just like, it's just like if you have a power of attorney, you have an agent. The trustee, it's just a role, because the trust is just a document. So somebody has to be in charge of it. We're doing this type of trust. It's not going to be you. We have to separate you from what's in it enough that Medicaid says, okay, we're not counting it as their asset. So your kid is trustee, but don't let them get cocky, because you could fire them anytime. So when you create a trust, you have strings to pull. So, because people get squeamish when they say, "Oh, my kid's the trustee."
Because you think that you can lose control.
You can't, because you can fire them. Let's say they sell the house. We want to go to Florida, and they say, "Oh, we love this house. We grew up in it. We're not selling." Boom, you're fired. And if you're really aggravated, you then disinherit them from the trust. So you're not the trustee, but you're in the driver's seat the whole time.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because you never lose really control of the thing.
Right. And it's called irrevocable, but if you want to revoke it while you're still alive, we actually can. We're attorneys, and we draft it in such a way that it's irrevocable enough that Medicaid says it's separate from you. But if we want to undo it while you're still alive, we can undo it and transfer the house back to you. There's not really, we very rarely do it. The only time we would really do it is if we do a trust and next year there's an unforeseen medical event, you suddenly need a nursing home, right? And you've done this transfer within 5 years. Well, we're going to break the trust, give the house back to you, and then you're going to transfer it to your spouse, which you're allowed to do, and get approved immediately for Medicaid. So it's like a Monopoly board game. There's a lot of moving pieces. That's why I don't know how some attorneys are just trust attorneys and some are just elder law, because all of this is so
They go together.
so intertwined.
Joanne Saldo. She's mortgage broker with Jet Direct. She says, keep in mind now you can get a reverse mortgage with a trust.
Yes, so lenders have come around to that. It used to be difficult to get any type of mortgage when that house was in a trust, but lenders have come around to that. So even the reverse mortgages, there are lenders, and if she wants to contact me directly, I'll add her to my list of contacts.
Okay. And what about if you want to refinance one of the houses or something that's in the trust? That's the same thing.
Like I said, most lenders are not happy if it's in the trust. So if you go to refinance, they're going to want you to take it out. That's why you want to do all your financing. You can move and sell it and pay them off, but you want to do all your financing before you set up the trust, because why go through the time and expense to do it if you're just going to undo it?
Right. Okay. Yeah, she said she will contact you.
Okay.
That's her phone number. Write her phone number right there.
I know I should have typed the whole title, but it's fkmlaw.com. F as in.
I'm going to write it in the
Write
chat.
it down in the chat so Joanne has the info.
Where is my chat? Okay.
No. I think if you write, it goes to private to us.
Yeah,
Denise needs.
I think I have to write it.
Everyone in the studio.
Oh,
I'll try
that'll
it.
work.
No, it's going to go private.
I'll put my phone number.
Let me change the settings. Oh, there you go.
I don't know. I put your email address in the chat. And
okay. We're right on Motor Parkway in Hauppauge. That's our corporate, that's our main office. We have a Manhattan office, but this is where this is the hub of all the spokes.
All right, there's your phone number. Okay.
With Denise's face.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, no, it comes up as me, but that's okay. Christine's phone number.
I'll forward you calls. If I get any calls for you, I'll definitely let you know.
Okay, anybody have any other questions? I was going to talk a little bit about real estate investing, but that's okay. Nobody cares. But we'll talk about that another time. I think that this was just some great information that is very important. We all know somebody that has that is going. I mean, I know a lot of people that are going through this right now.
Yeah.
You know, because they didn't plan ahead accordingly, and they have to liquidate assets, and they're just buying stuff. And well, thank you, Jean.
We care, Denise.
I said nobody cares. She said we care, Denise.
Oh, thank you, Jean.
So yeah, so
you too.
It's so important to plan ahead. I mean, I talk about this at every event that I go to, and every talk that I give is, even with real estate, to plan ahead for things like this. Know your assets, know what you can do. And that's why we do this, so that you have all these resources and information that you can plan ahead. Because when you're in crisis, it's the worst time to try to figure all this stuff out. Yeah. And that's all we're trying to do. Do you also deal with the teachers union? And can you be called directly?
Yes.
Yes, so and yes.
We have different unions that we deal with. NYSIT, UFT, with as a legal services plan, but they can call me directly, and I'll set them up with whatever, if they're in our system, we can do it. If they're not in the system, we confirm with NYSIT or UFT, and I can, guide them further.
Yep. What else? Anything else?
Joanne says that you can purchase at home in a trust with a reverse mortgage.
Yeah, we talked about that already. And
anything else?
Thank you, Kelly, for joining us. And any other questions? Anyone?
You have 2 minutes. 3 seconds. What is your drink, Denise?
Yeah, I don't have my glass of wine. We said we were going to have
always
wine.
Promised me that she's going to have a drink.
I forget. But we're happy everybody was able to join us. It seemed like we had a lot of people on tonight, and that's a good thing. Thank you all for joining us. And thank you for Christine for all your great information.
Where can they find you, Christine, again?
Oh, we lost the number. Feldman Kramer in Monaco, fkmlaw.com.
Yeah, let me write that. So
I should have put that in my title on the
yeah. Denise?
I'm writing.
Oh, you're writing.
Sorry. I don't know. Feldman
Kramer, Kramer, Monaco, Monaco.
Kathy says I would have been on earlier, but Jean doesn't share. Kathy, you can watch the recording on my Facebook page, and you can always call Christine and ask her any questions you have. I don't know when you actually came on, but
me I'm on. I'm grabbing the show
now. Yeah, so Christine's willing to meet with any of you that are on the show and consult with you. So that's a great thing. So give her a call.
But we need a password. What will be the password?
Unicorn.
Huh?
Unicorn.
Oh, my granddaughter loves unicorn.
You have to say, "Oh, I'm calling you because I saw the show and the password is unicorn."
Okay.
So now she knows where you're coming from. Unicorn. Remember that.
So, we appreciate everyone. Like and comment, and anybody can watch the recording on our Facebook pages at any time. Guess that's it.
Good night, everybody.
Where can they find you, Denise, before we go?
Where can you find me? Oh, Marie got thrown off the live feed and now she's back. Marie, sorry about that. I want to call Christine. Okay.
Marie.
She's calling you.
Call
Conway.
Denise.
Marie Conway does Medicare planning.
Okay.
She was our Medicare specialist on the show last season. So she says she's going to give you a call. And Joanne Saldo is our reverse mortgage person that was on the show last season. So yeah, get in touch with a lot of people.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, so find Denise on Instagram and Facebook, Denise Lanzarone, your local realtor, and join our Facebook group. What's the Facebook group?
Senior Services Resource Group.
Exactly.
Thank you. Senior Services Resource Group. If you're not a member, I created that group so that all of us that are sharing information about senior resources can go on there and find. There's a lot of people are doing posting on there about events. The Bristol's been posting. Daria, she was one of our guests. She's been posting about events about Medicaid planning. She also does. She doesn't do trust, but she does Medicaid planning. So anyway, so you find some information on that site as well, on that page.
And remember, we'll see you here next week. It's our final one live.
Yes, next week is our final one. And then we're going to be having a live event, and we will tell you those details as soon as we figure it out. And hopefully we'll see you all and have a drink.
Yeah, remember, follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. You find me as Sandra Roman Real Estate. And we'll see you around. Adios. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Adios, amiguines.